Bloody Jacob here to give you my thoughts on Twisted. Now, Twisted comes to us from the director of both Saw 2 and Spiral, and stars Lauren Lavera as well as Djimon Hansu, who's been in everything from Guardians of the Galaxy to Blood Diamond to Quiet Place Part 2. And that's one of the main drawing points of this is that he's done a shit ton of work in a lot of different genres, but he has never really gotten like a proper kind of center spotlight for the most part that I know of. And then you have that paired with Lauren Lavera, and Lauren Lavera, she just really broke out in a major way, especially in the horror genre a few years ago, thanks to her part as Sienna in Terrifier 2 and 3, which she did a freaking awesome job in. Definitely like a new horror icon, of the modern day, and someone I already kind of put over some classics that people would get mad at me for. But she seems to be such a terrific person. And this centers on a neurosurgeon doctor who recently lost his wife. So he's kind of looking into different kind of brain work and everything. And we have Lauren Lavera and her girlfriend, who the actress of, I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now, but they're con artists basically. They end up renting house or different properties, and then sort of pulling a scheme as if they're realtors, putting the house on the market themselves, and then they make off with money through through various means of doing that, and they end up, of course, accosting the wrong person, who happens again to be him, who ends up entrapping one of the girls, hoping to figure out something on how to bring his wife back to some extent, through their means, whether they like it or not. I've probably already said too much about the plot, really, so I'll leave it there. But it kind of puts the plot in that sort of position. Okay, Lauren Lavera's character and her partner, they're not necessarily the most like morally center people. Doing what they do, but then they're kind of confronted by this sort of different type of verging on kind of selfish motive or even evil to some extent. So it kind of puts that spot, okay, can we still kind of sympathize or root for anyone here? I've seen some people complain that they can't, that Lauren Lavera's character Paloma and her girlfriend are unlikable because of what they were shown to be doing within their lives and everything. But Lauren Lavera does such a bang up fucking job on this movie. I did like Djimon too, but I think this movie is very much on Lauren Lavera's back still. We already seen what great job she could do acting wise with the Terrifier films. I can't wait for Terrifier 4 in the next year or two, hopefully at least. She just taps into such a versatility. With the personalities of some of the cons we see him briefly doing in the kind of earlier part of the film, the kind of just the emotional freaking turmoil and torture she endures in the movie. It gets twisted. And just kind of the mental fuckery she ends up being put through, I can see that as being like a really interesting and good like acting, challenge. So I thought she did really well on her end. In terms of like the plot with the doctor himself, it got a little bit cobbled for me. It kind of fell flat in some execution bits, but you do also have, by the way, Neil McDonough in here, who I always like, whether it's in film roles he's had or a show like Justified. Then you got Alicia Witt, who's been turning in like really just sneaking in, delivering like pretty impressive performances of late in the last few years. Was also a guest starring Justified at one point, but Longlegs, a handful of years ago, among other things. But overall, I like the movie, but it's definitely one of those I don't think is like a casual, repeated watch for most, at least not for me. That's partially because of just the kind of story it is. It's naturally not just, let's throw that on and see that shit again. Although they do depict like the the twisted side of it. There is like a proper weirdness and just a certain particular vibe to it. I think they tapped fairly well into. Um, but the direction of it, well, I kind of applaud for, having like the cojones to go where it does. It's just not very satisfying. It just gets a little, I don't know, just awkward instead. To the point where I don't know if it would fully satisfy someone watching for either lead actor. Um, but there's an irony to the conclusion of it that I can appreciate as well. Um, but it just doesn't do anything that's all that kind of worth seeing the follow through of. I don't know. There's like a particular direction or like a landing spot. I think, okay, this is where it's going to have to go now. But that I don't even really want to see happen either at this point. Um, so yeah, beyond Lauren LaVera's performance, there's not much of a takeaway in this for me. Some of the effects are all right. There's a lot of you get some looks at literal brains and everything, different kind of like head, piercing, maybe kinks that might set some people off. I don't know. I don't know why I said kinks, but the worst of it is maybe like Lauren LaVera's kind of bald cap and some of the others that end up being worn, where you can tell their scalp or their cranium is a bit more bulbous than it actually would be. It looks a little fake. That looked kind of hilarious towards the later part of the movie. But again, if you're watching for LaVera, which I think a chunk of people that do actually check this movie out are probably gonna be, she has a couple really, really good scenes, but I don't know, I just don't think it's gonna stick. I don't think it's gonna fully work for some people. I'm rambling. It's late. It's almost 3 a.m. when I'm talking about this. But overall, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5, like 2.75 on Letterboxd if I could do quarter ratings on there. Still worth it for her. But I do sense and I do very much hope there are better projects for Lauren LaVera, in her hopefully many years ahead in film. So yeah, guys, thought about this one. Follow me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, of course, later.